everyone, and thanks for being here. I'm Terry McMacken, a local resident, and for the past few election cycles, I've been hosting conversations like this with candidates. The goal is simple: to give people a chance to get to know the person behind the campaign. This isn't a debate or a gotcha interview, it's a conversation. By the end of the video, my hope is that you'll have a better sense of who this candidate is, their background, their priorities, and how they approach leadership. The spirit of this conversation is one of curiosity and intentionality, really digging into the nuance and context of why someone chooses to put their name on a ballot and what they hope to accomplish. I have some prepared questions that the candidate received in advance, but we're going to follow the flow of the conversation. Every candidate has received an invite. If you have any questions after the interview, I would encourage you to reach out to the candidate directly. So with that, thanks for being here, and let's get started. And hi, Barry. I'm so happy to I say meet you, but we've met at events before, but like actually get to have a conversation with you today.
Yes, this is going to be interesting. I've been listening to your other interviews and they all seem to go very well. So let's, I guess, get started.
Wonderful. And you can get started right away by telling me and the audience a little bit about yourself and what your connection to the community is, and then why you decided to run for municipal government.
Terry, I've been married 35 years. I have two children, three grandchildren. Both my children played hockey, so that was my connection to the rink as far as that goes. I was born and brought up in Havelock, so in the community. I've worked 38 years. 33 of those years that I have worked was supervision, which I started at the Fawcett Sawmill. I was hired as a first line supervisor there back in the 80s when I was 22 years old. Worked there for 5 years, went on to surface mining and was GF at Greymont or Havelock Lime or one of Dickinson's mines, of the many names that kept changing where I worked there. Then from then I moved on to the potash. I went to the potash in Sussex and supervised the building of the new conveyors in the new mine with their expansion. From that point on till the mine closed, then they offered me the same job out west in Rocanville. So I traveled to Saskatchewan for a couple of years, but it wasn't Petitcodiac. So I returned. And then I spent 2 years working in the recycling business. So I guess I have a broad range of, I guess I can throw farming in there too. As a young kid, I was born and brought up on a farm. So I've got a broad range of jobs, and basically all those things is what happens in our community.
I love how like wide that portfolio is, right? I'm like jotting down my little notes here, and I'm like, that's an impressive resume, I would say. You had mentioned too that you were a supervisor in a lot of these positions. So I feel like that leads in really nicely to, the question of what experiences or, life experiences or career do you feel it would cross over to your position as a municipal councilor should you win?
Well, being in those positions, I did a lot of budgeting, planning. How do I say? When you take a project, I budgeted, may followed it through right to the finished product, which is kind of a passion of mine. I'm pushy that way. I like projects. The bigger, the better. That's part of the reason that I'm looking at these roles. I'm retired, but I need projects to do to fulfill, I guess, and keep my mind going. So
It sounds like it would be a very good fit. So you mentioned some of these roles, you're planning, you're looking at budgets. I mean, these all seem like things that would prepare you well for your role as a municipal councilor. But what do you feel like, kind of on top of all of those things that, you're obviously prepared to do, but what do you feel like is the most important responsibility of a councilor?
well, even listening to your interviews and as I started to look into this position in the last 6 months, is I learned a lot of stuff about the village that I didn't know. I'm going to say there's a lot of people out there, our residents in our wards and in our village, that isn't aware of what the village council or the community of Three Rivers is actually doing until things happen. And I really think we can improve on that a lot somehow. I know the minutes are there, the meetings are kept track of, and that sort of deal. But I think a little blurb every time there is a meeting, maybe by the staff, sending out their information that, kind of keeps people interested. And once they're interested, they'll be looking for updates as far as that goes. Like I learned about the library myself, listening to your interview with Pete. And I was not aware of all those details. And I think the residents will have more understanding if they know all the facts.
That seems to be a common theme, right? Is that
Yeah,
communication of information, and sometimes it's hard because there is a lot of information, and then sometimes this is kind of how I feel too. Like, yes, of course, we need to do a better job getting this information out there, and we live in a world where it's kind of information overload. So it's just like, how do you get the right stuff in front of people? And there is no 100% one method that works for everybody. I know for me, I like
exactly.
podcasts. So like
Yeah,
this long form conversation, that's a great way for me, and I'm sure a lot of people to actually learn something, right? So I'm happy to hear that you learned something because I'm learning something in each one of these interviews. But that also
mm,
means that other people are. So maybe this is just one of many ways that we can help get that information out to people because you're right. If they don't know, maybe they'll make assumptions, that maybe they'll get mad about something that's not even an issue and the answer is existing somewhere, but not in a place that's easily accessible or in a format people want to even look at.
yeah.
Maybe you've got some cool ideas. Like what kind of ways would you like to be communicated with that you feel like you might bring to the table?
I guess with looking into this position, I know now to look on the minutes, but people are different. Like, for instance, some people are on Facebook, but a lot of the seniors aren't on Facebook. So somehow posting things around the village on the really important things, like we don't need to bore people with everything as far as that goes. But the important issue, for instance, I'm hearing that we're going to lose our bridge in Petitcodiac. Well, that information I would like to see out there for people to know so they can plan ahead of time, or, ask the questions before they see there's a sign up saying the bridge is going to be closed as far as that goes. So,
And sometimes it's just a rumor too. I remember
right.
finding out a rumor about myself. I don't know how it started, but there was a rumor that Councillor McMacken was going to spend like $600,000 on solar panels for the arena. And I'm like, where'd you get that? Like, one, that's not a number that was even thrown about. And yes, we did look into it and
Hmm.
eventually decided it wasn't viable. But interesting, like, I wonder how many people would say, we're wasting money on solar panels without knowing, like, we're actually not buying solar panels. We were literally just looking at the cost benefit analysis. And you might have known that had you asked me about it.
Speaking on that, I have just installed solar panels at my residence. And
Me
I'm
too.
true. Yeah, oh, did you? Okay.
Yep.
So I'm a true believer in, and actually, we're looking at it for the golf course
It's fantastic.
because there's actually more programs out there for companies than there is actual residential right now. So I definitely, if I was on council, be re-looking at some of those scenarios as far as that goes.
Well, I hope you do because there was a really promising like cost benefit analysis of having them over by the lagoon in order to generate the
Oh,
energy
yes.
needed to run that facility. And now that I've got solar panels and I see in the summer I produce way more energy than
Hmm.
we use, and then those credits go in the winter. And of course, it's cost prohibitive in a way for a lot of people, especially the upfront costs. But these are the kind of conversations we should be having with pen to paper and the actual numbers to prove it. So I'm really happy to hear that that's something you're at least
Well,
thinking about.
and the long term is there because right now the price of hydro is going up every year, 4 to 5%. Well, we don't feel that when we have a solar panel because we're making our own power. So we're just paying for our solar panels through the program. We're not feeling the increase, which a lot of people are, as far as
Yeah,
that
that
goes.
loan payment stays the same every month, whether, MB Power decides to raise
Right.
rates. But I mean, this is just one of many, many examples of things that might come across the table for you to consider or for you to even bring to the table to talk about. And we need to be talking about it because maybe you do the math on paper and it doesn't work out,
Right.
and that's okay. But, we need to be having these
Yeah.
conversations.
The other thing is dear to my heart is the arena. I've been in the situation that it was in many years ago uh, when wire mesh was coming up through the concrete, and we didn't know if we're going to get through the season, and helping to get all levels of government together to build the ice, to new boards. As far as that goes, all my information come from Pat Lewis, of course. At that time, we didn't have the money. The village didn't have the money, but we gathered grandfathers actually from hockey players that were always at the rink, which was Lee McLeod and Bill Harmer. So, which they don't get along. One's a liberal and one's a conservative. But when we got them together to work towards the rink, then we were successful in pulling federal and provincial governments together, and they did work together, and we got our ice service. So those sort of things have to be done to, because the village can't, or Three Rivers can't pay for everything. We need help from other levels of government, but we're not going to get it by just sitting in our chair and not asking. They have so much money in their hand, and whoever puts more pressure on them, in most cases, gets the extra money. I'm pretty determined when I get hooked onto something like that that we need to go after. Now we'll see where the plant situation is and then go from there.
You touched on a couple of really awesome things that I'd love to dig a little bit deeper into is one, the arena. And Barry, I don't know if you know, but I am a goalie mom. I have two boys that play hockey. Both of them are goalies. I'm half crazy most of the time. And yeah, we're even doing spring hockey. We're a hockey family. That rink
Yep.
is incredibly important, to me and my family. But the more time I spend there, the more time I realize how big of a community hub this rink is. And I'm not sure if you saw the 50th anniversary video for the rink, but the village had
Yep.
hired me to do that. So I was the one who did that
Okay.
video. So I got to go around and interview all these people, some of them I'd never met, and learn the history of the rink because I didn't grow up in Petitcodiac. I've been here for 12 years. So talking to people who, have been at the rink since it was like basically built. It
Yeah.
was really, really cool and eye-opening. And you're right, so many people came together, whether they liked each other or not, for
Right.
that common good of getting everything fixed so my kids can play hockey on it too, right?
Well, it's not only that. That's where you meet the other parents. That's where you make friendships. The kids do, the parents do. It's a community, meeting place. You got to have a French fry every once in a while. Yeah, it's between the arena and probably the golf course are the two top places that bring in people from outside and support all our businesses here, in the village and the community of Three Rivers.
I like as well that you'd mentioned paying for this building. The municipality alone cannot afford
No.
that rink, right? We've got people from all over, people from outside Three Rivers, and we'll say Salisbury, for example, are using that rink, but yet our tax base of Three Rivers is who's paying for it. So, maybe you've got a tiny population, we'll say, 1,000 households paying the full price for a rink that 2,000 households are using. So, and it's a service, right? It's never going to make money. We all pay our ice times, we all do that, but none of that comes close to actually touching the cost
Right.
of that rink, right? Like it brings in some money to kind of, help cover some expenses, but
Probably the
looking
off
at the
spin is
value.
good, but yeah.
Yeah, and I'm loving that we're getting more use out of the rink with ball hockey. So I don't know if you've noticed, but we've this is the second year now that we've had a ball hockey program,
Yep.
which is
Yep.
really fun. Like it's kind of extending the use of that building. I'd say up until I think we go until June because after that point it just gets way too
Way too
hot.
hot,
But it's
actually.
too hot. But it's nice to see it being used, and I'm encouraged by the fact that, you know, the ice plant, like that's moving. I believe a new Zamboni is coming too, and
Good.
you don't realize how much those things cost. Like when I was on
Yes.
council, I wrote a grant to try and get us the ice plant, and at that time, which was years and years ago, we were looking at least $1 million. I
Yeah.
can't
And
imagine what
as
it is
time goes
now.
along, it doesn't get any cheaper. So,
No, no, definitely not. Um, And another thing I wanted to point out, because I feel like we can dig into this a little bit more, is you had mentioned all levels of government when it comes to
right.
paying for the rink. So you know, I'm sure, that we've got three different levels of government and they have three different sets of responsibility. And sometimes people get confused about what you can and cannot do as municipal
Hmm.
counselor. They might come at you and be like, I want a family doctor. And you're like, I can't do that. But how do you feel, or I guess, what do you feel is your role when people approach you with problems that really aren't in your scope to solve, but you're the closest person for them to bring it up? Like, how do you deal with situations like that?
I don't have an issue, and if I can help them, I feel being on council puts you one step closer to the provincial and federal government. You're going to have an opportunity basically to speak to different levels of government and different meetings. So use those times to maybe voice the concern of residents, or direct the residents in a direction to help solve their problem. Again, yeah, we can't write a check and solve a problem, but that isn't saying that we can't force put some pressure on the people that can, to direct them towards where the problem is.
Absolutely. And that seems to be a common theme in these interviews is that maybe I can't, you know, solve your problem, but I can connect you to the people who can and help walk you through, you know, what that process is. So I feel like it's a pretty common
Mhm.
thing, and I'm happy to hear it from multiple candidates. I'm like, okay, good, you get it. Don't make promises you can't keep, right?
That's right.
So I'm gonna ask for three, but you can give me two, you can give me four. I ain't gonna be picky. But what are the top three issues you feel like are facing this community right now?
Well, I'm going to go back. Like in 2012, I built a house in Petitcodiac. I came from Salisbury. And at that time, I was the second house built within 5 years. So I'm going to, look back and say, well, if we look how many new constructions have happened in the village, probably, over the last 4 or 5 years, I think people are starting to move in, as Salisbury grows, with the highway there. So I think we still need to, continue to grow our base, but we want to keep our small, clean village outlook along with it. But my big thing, as we've talked about, is the rink and communication. As far as it, and in Ward One, which I'm president of now, is the golf course that has gone from the situation of almost bankruptcy to being a very prosperous business as of now. We went from 250 members up to 550 members. And we're going to thank some of that to COVID, because that was one of the sports that everybody could do by themselves. And it got a lot of people hooked on golf, which was great for our course, as far as that goes, which in turn has allowed us to invest back in the course and make it a better facility. And I don't know if you partake in the swinging frustration, but the course has done a lot of improvements over the years as far as that goes.
So I will fully admit that I have never played golf in my life. I am an incredibly impatient person, and I feel like
Okay.
golf is just a sport of just relax, take in the moment, walk to the next hole, and I'm like, go, 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 move. Like, but my husband goes quite a bit, and he's very proud that it's one of the first courses open every year, which is pretty awesome, eh?
Yes, usually only open to walking only, but we've shortened that up with some of our drainage projects and stuff that we can get the carts on sooner, which, it brings people from Bathurst, it brings people from all over the place, and they come back for green fees different times of the year too, so it's good advertisement.
And you folks have a program for kids, eh? Like learn to golf. I know my kids have been bugging me, and I look at my husband, I'm like, you figure it out. You
Yep.
enroll them, you do all of that if they want to golf, but they really do.
Yeah, we have a pro on staff that looks after the junior program. I think we allow up to 70 kids at different ages. There's different time zones for different kids. They even get to go on a golf cart with their parent and do a couple holes once a week. So it's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot of fun watching the kids out there. So that's our future.
Yeah, my kids got a set of golf clubs for Christmas, so
Okay.
we'll be there. I don't know if you'll see me there. Maybe I'll drive the cart, but there's a bar, and there's a bar I can hang out and
Yeah, and the sun shines
air
in, there's
conditioning.
lawn chairs, yeah.
I, I'm a baby. I don't like the heat. This Irish skin does not like the sun, so you'll find me hanging out, have a drink. I'll let them go and
And the
have
food's
fun.
good now, the food's good there
I
too,
hear
so,
that. I hear that. It's
yes.
really awesome. Actually, the kids went for a hockey party. They did like the golf simulator
Oh, yes,
thing.
good, yeah, that's new for us this year too, so,
Yeah,
yeah,
it was a
yeah,
hit. My kids came home and they were totally
good.
happy about it. I got a question though too. Like we mentioned the rink, and so you say like one of the things you want to focus on, obviously, is the upgrades to the rink, keeping that good. Do you have like grandkids that play right now? Are you involved in the rink right now in any capacity?
I do have grandkids that play, but they're in Bathurst. I don't have a family connection to the rink other than in the past.
And you still
Um,
care about it, which is
and
awesome,
yeah,
and that says something.
my daughter and son both played hockey, so.
You'll have to come. I've got a well, going into U13, going into U11. That's a fun age for hockey. So I'll send you the schedule if you're really feeling like you need to get that, out of your system, cheer on those
Yeah,
Flyers. You're more than welcome to come to any of our games.
good.
No, that's fantastic. The next question I have for you is, what qualities do you think make an effective municipal leader?
Well, I've never been one, so I'm probably not a good judge of that, but
Maybe what you would like to see, right? Like think of that municipal leader that you're like, they're doing a great job and I'm going to vote for them. Like, what do you see in this person?
well, and part of the reason I guess that I'm running is I look at my ward and I look at the last 3 years or 4 years, what was done in my ward. Well, I really think, since we have combined everything together to Three Rivers. We all know, especially in Ward 1, it's not especially, but in Ward 1 and Ward 3, our taxes have increased. We do use the services which we need to pay for in the village. I don't argue that point whatsoever, but I think we do need to pay attention on the outskirts of Three Rivers and bring those people, some benefit of being part of the community.
Yeah, and that could be part of the communication thing too, right? Because there
Right.
could be something happening and we just don't know about it, which is sometimes the case. I know when I was on council, we had to replace, a sewer line and it was incredibly expensive. And the only people who would really notice are the people who happen to be on that street, and everyone else might have had no
Right.
idea that that happened.
Mhm.
So, absolutely, it certainly should be something more visible. If your taxes go up, which sometimes they have to pay for things, you at least want to see it or at least want to be communicated with as to why and what it's paying for, right?
Right.
On that, I feel like that works really well into the next question is that, you know, residents will sometimes just direct every little bit of frustration, every gripe, every vent at municipal leaders, even if it's something outside of municipal, control. But if you get elected, people are going to do that. And I want to know how you're going to be receiving this. Like, what would be your technique? If I'm coming at you, I'm nagging you about something, how are you going to process that?
Terry, I have been a supervisor for 33 years. There ain't a snowball you can throw at me that I haven't had thrown at me yet. So
You win the
first,
trophy for that answer. That's just even that. I'm gonna let you continue, but just even that, it's like, no, you're right. He probably has had some
uh,
things said to him.
yeah, president of minor hockey for 2 years. A few hockey moms get a little upset as far as that goes. All you do is stay calm. There is an opportunity there to, help them out or explain what is frustrating. But, at the end of the day, they just want to vent in most cases. But if there is an inline problem there, then try to solve it.
I tend to be an optimistic person, and part of me is obviously annoyed if someone's coming up and they're venting, and especially if I know the answer and they're not even thinking to ask me, like they just want to vent. But then
Yeah,
part of me is like, you feel comfortable enough in my presence to be sharing this with me, like it's a weird privilege in a way, right? To be that on the receiving end of somebody just caring about something and feeling like you're the one who can help them.
obviously they have maybe not been informed fully of the whole story, and if they're coming with frustration, then it's all been brewing for a while, and there may be underlying facts there that need to come out also. So
Yeah, hopefully with the staying calm, you could at
yeah.
least help them. And some people just want to yell and they don't actually want to be helped, and you're going to deal with those people too. But most people, in my experience, if you actually have a conversation with them, like you can actually get to some kind of agreement,
Oh
you know?
yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And I bet you've experienced that in your work as well.
As well, yes. But there is times when they're not going to be happy. Whether you're at work and a decision has been made, and you have to follow through, and it's not the what direction the employee wants to go. Well, at that time, you either have to convince them, or sometimes there is not a solution that everybody's happy, and going to Tim's afterwards, as far as that goes.
Hang out with the guys at Tim's. A shout out.
Uh,
A shout out to those guys that hang out at Tim's. Are you one of them?
no, I'm not.
Oh,
I'm
darn.
I'm I was when I was working, I was a big Tim's fan, stopped every morning, had to have my extra large with milk. Since I retired, then yeah, I only partake when I drive by, I guess.
I'm kind of a coffee snob. Like I've got my little French press and everything. I like my coffee black. I will drink Tim's if I have to, but like every time I see those guys in the corner, I'm like, I want to go sit with them and talk and be like, I would stick out like a sore thumb. They'd be like, who is this, little 5 foot nothing,
Yeah,
woman who thinks
yeah,
she can come in here? But they're actually very, very nice. I know several of them. So
yeah.
shout out again to the guys in the corner at Tim's. Um, so I know you're retired, and I like to ask this question because I'm a big supporter of boundaries and balance. You want to make sure that yes, you're working hard and yes, you're available, but you still have your hobbies and you still have your family commitments. What does, should you get elected, what will that look like in your life? Like, do you plan on committing a certain amount of hours? Are you going to block out some time for yourself? How will you set those boundaries?
Well, I guess Terry, I'm task-oriented person. So depending on what tasks is put before me, then as far as I'm concerned, I work till it's done. As far as that goes, you know, you adjust what priorities of what projects you're doing, or what you're doing, or how much work you put into it. But when I'm given a task, then it's going to happen.
Well, I hope you carve out time for yourself. I would imagine that's golf, maybe?
Oh
You got a
yes.
hobby, something you like to do?
Well, I'm known to play the odd round of golf 3 or 4 times a week, and I have a wood lot that I enjoy working at. But all those things are not, you can come in. They're adjustable. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
Good, good. I'm gonna nag at everyone who actually wins a council. I'm like, find your hobby, do something fun for yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself in a role like this, it will drain you. And any leader in the community, and all of our volunteers, you need to, you know, don't light
Oh yeah.
yourself on fire to keep
Yeah.
everybody else warm. And I've done it before. Like I'm only 36 years old and I have burnt out multiple times, trying to burn the candle on either end. But it is really important for you as a leader, even if you don't get elected, take your time, relax a bit, keep yourself in good shape so that when the hard things happen, because they happen, you're
Oh
ready to
yeah.
take them on.
Yep.
Feel like a therapist sometime, like, take your vacations. Make sure you take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Um, and I find it interesting too, like obviously you're retired, so you're gonna have like a certain amount of time, probably more so than like what I would. But when I served on council, we had a honorarium of $5,500. People could not
Right.
believe that I was doing the job I was doing for $5,500, and I paid daycare, which was almost 10 grand a year. So I wasn't
Right.
making any money, but it seems like they've upped the pay for counselors, which I appreciate because I believe in paying people for their time. So that should be helpful, I think. If we were to revisit this conversation 4 years from now, let's say you get elected, we're coming up on the next election, what would you hope to have accomplished?
Well, I hope to have a list of things that I can, if I want it reelected, or that I can go back to the people that voted for me, or not even necessarily for me, but live in the area, which I am. And I'm going to go off scene here for a minute, but I'm a little encouraged, a little more. I look back at the other election, and the amount of people that voted in Ward 1 was 120 people. Already with two advanced polls, we're definitely over that. So that's where I guess good competition is coming out and making people pay attention to, to the new system that is happening in our province as far as that goes. But yeah, I hope to look at the community in 4 years that, things have improved, that has grown. I don't want it to change from, you know, the nice small village that it is to a massive infrastructure, but we do need business. We need, like to see more restaurants, as far as that goes, businesses. Senior housing is probably another very serious thing that, there's a lot of apartments, but apartment buildings that house affordable senior people are, there's two, but they've been there for years, and the amount of us guys getting older, I feel we need more in that direction also, as far as that goes. We really we're lucky. We have the rink, we have the golf course, we use the gym at the church, we use the gym at the school. So a lot of the facilities we have, we just, need to keep them in good shape. I don't think we're out of the way. We're not asking for a rink that we have a walk around ice surface that's $16 million complex. We just like our old rink that was built back in the 70s to run efficiently and hold all the people as far as that goes. We just have to keep up our infrastructure with the population that we're going to have.
I love that you mentioned the voter turnout, right? Because
Yeah.
100 and some votes, like that's not a lot. And we're not a huge community, so there's not
No,
like
no.
tens of thousands of votes out there to get, but it was 33%, I believe, in the last municipal election.
And
Something
in
super
Ward
low.
One, there was 1,000 people, and it was 10% basically, or 12%.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which to me is disheartening as somebody who, loves democracy and believes that, votes matter because they do. When you see the voter turnout that low, what I see is just a lot of apathy, right? It is people just thinking, it's not going to get better
yeah,
or, like why bother? But you're right, a little bit of competition is a good thing. And no
yeah.
shade to people who have won by acclamation.
No,
Congrats.
no.
But
Yeah,
I want to see a competition. I want a choice.
yeah.
I like this question, especially given the context of the world. But what role do you see municipal leaders playing in shaping how we treat each other in the community? Because it's been very clear, especially to me, that there's a lot of polarization. There's a lot of people who don't know their neighbors. There's a lot of distrust. And what role do you feel like as a leader to actually help bring people together and realize we're not actually that different?
I'm not sure I can bring, as a municipal leader, I'm not sure I can bring everybody together. But what brings people together is, is the arena, the interaction, also is our fair or community days, the parade. People start to mingle and get to know each other, and as far as that goes. But yeah, it's the other thing is what I find being out and about is trust. It's the crime has exploded around here, so people are keeping to themselves a little more rather than being out and about. Like it used to be, somebody moved in, you were on their doorstep introducing yourself and whatever. So we're people a little more timid. So I'm even hoping, like I see the RCMP building going up in Salisbury, it'll just give us a little more presence, where they're closer as far as that goes, as far as Riverview. But some people just want to be by themselves. But as long as there's not conflict, then I don't see a problem with people being by themselves, to be honest with you.
You'd mentioned the arena as like a place bringing people together, and I
Yeah,
just jotted down, I was like, facilities facilitating connection, right? Like these built, whether it's a physical building or a space, right? Like Veterans
right.
Park or like Maple Street Park or the park
Yeah.
in Elgin, like all of these places are actually facilitating this human connection. And as an extrovert myself, the idea of being alone is just terrifying. And I can
Mhm.
appreciate because my mother who lives next door is very introverted. It's like she will go days without seeing people. I'm like, what is wrong with you? But I can appreciate that. But there's a difference between, being alone and being lonely. And I
Right.
feel like, we're getting definitely, we have people that are alone, but we have people who are feeling lonely because they're just lacking. I don't even know if it's the will or the right facility or the right environment where they would feel comfortable getting out and knowing their neighbors. And I like to lead by example, so I am showing up at new people's doorsteps. Again, extrovert. My
Yeah.
husband my husband probably thinks it's embarrassing sometimes, but I'm like, it's okay. What's the worst that could happen? Kind of thing. But I can definitely appreciate that you appreciate the roles that these spaces hold in our communities.
Could be residents going to the Legion and playing crib,
Mhm.
or some of the other activities that's you know so to keep those opportunities out there, that if people are wanting to reach out, that they are available.
It's important to have those opportunities
Yeah,
to connect. And I know you had mentioned crime as well. And I know there are a lot of questions about whether, that new detachment in Salisbury is actually going to mean more coverage and better services for us. And, I hope that it does. I'm also a big proponent of prevention before you even
right,
get to that point. And knowing your neighbor is preventative, really. I had said this in another interview that people, if we go away for a weekend, I now have to tell people in advance so I don't get messages like, "Hey,
right.
someone pulled into your driveway." And I'm like, "No, no, they're just feeding the cats. It's okay. Nobody's breaking in." But it kind of
Yeah,
warms your heart like everyone's watching out for you when they know you and when they trust you. And I do the same. I keep an eye on my neighbors and everything. And I hope I hope we can continue to live in a community where that's a priority for people.
Well, that's right. And when you know those people, then you're going to reach out or watch and hey, your side by side's going down the road. Did you lend it to somebody?
That's a very like, Three Rivers answer, hey, you're
Yeah.
side by side. Sorry, I might offend some people, but I've never been in a side by side. Like my neighbor's got one, and I'm half tempted to be like, take me out for a ride. I want to see what the big deal is about this. But I also drive an EV, so that probably says something too. But,
Yeah.
kudos for the outdoor activities, whatever gets you outside. I am happy for you. So we'll move back into your role as a counselor should you get elected, but there's going to be some decisions that are just really complex. There's a lot of moving pieces or there's a lot of things that you have to figure out or consider and sometimes you're going to make decisions that people don't understand. How are you going to communicate these more complex situations or maybe the complex reasoning behind a decision that you made? How are you going to communicate that in a way that the average person can understand?
I guess the easiest thing for me to say is I'm from the country or I'm from the area. So I don't feel that I talk over anybody's head. So it's called back in the day common sense. So just explain, as we were talking on solar, people may not understand me, but when you talk long term on solar, there is benefits there and that sort of deal. So explain all the details, explain, increases, explain that New Brunswick is short on power. So in the long term, you're part of helping the problem, not creating the problem. So
What I'm hearing is that you plan on taking the time, right? The time needed if somebody wants you to explain something, you
yeah,
plan on actually just taking the time to talk to them about it. And I do love that you said you don't talk over someone because
right.
one, that's the quickest way to piss somebody off, right? If you're talking
Oh
if you're
yeah,
talking over them. But also you want to make sure that they know that you're on their level and that you're not trying to kind of be above them or make decisions above them. You're trying to include them and help them understand.
very much so.
So we're getting to the end. I think I've got one or two more questions, but I'd really like to know what tone that you hope to set as a leader should you get elected. Now, us youngins would call it the vibe. Like what vibe are you giving out into the universe? Like, is it no nonsense, sensical? Is it optimistic? Is it, serious? Like, what kind of tone are you looking to set?
I find Terry, me and you are opposites. I am direct. Um, People that have worked with me, whether at the golf course or whatever, I'm direct to the point when we're doing business, I want to do business. I do lighten up otherwise, but there is a time and a place. So um, I like to think when people or if people are going to vote for me, if there's a problem and they voted for Barry Keith, that Barry Keith will solve the problem that is put towards him or make them feel better at the end of the day, or they'll see results at the end of the day that I will fix the problem.
So I interpreted that as you're going to put out like a vibe of confidence,
Right.
right? Like that people can trust if they're coming to you with an issue that you are going to take that, you're going to take it seriously, and you're going to do what needs to be done.
If I tell them that, you know, if they're coming to me with something that's out of my control that I cannot do, unfortunately, they're going to get told that's that also. But if I can direct them in a way, or if I can bark in somebody else's ear to help them, then I certainly will.
And I'm definitely not offended that we're opposites because I feel like the world needs all kinds of people. I will
That's right.
be that bubbly cheerleader. I will be the let's get in your feelings kind of person. I feel like that's the best part of me, right? That I am
Right.
that person. And
Right.
then you need those sometimes that down to earth, okay, let's let's dig into this. So we need all kinds, and I
That's it.
100% appreciate that you are
Yeah.
you and I am me. Oh my gosh. All right. So I guess the last little bit here in terms of the political related questions, but is there anything else that voters should know about you, or is there anything we didn't touch on that you really feel like you want to take this platform to share with people?
Well, it's something I'd like to look into. As you know, we talked, I guess, before the interview, that we were at the town hall meeting for the new quarry in Ward One, which is up in Hillgrove, and it seems like I haven't heard from. I live close to it myself, so I haven't heard from residents as much of any complaints. But anyway, I open it up. I got 20 years experience in quarries, so if they are having issues or whatever, I know what the regulations are. I know what they have to do. But I also think as council, or if we were on council, they were promising that day, they were promising the world, like, we're just come from up and we built them a brand new ball field. We did this, we did that. So now they're 3 years into it, other than Wrecker Roads. What have they done for the community of Three Rivers? And have they been approached is the other thing. I know I have approached them for sponsorship at the golf course, and they were very, very willing to help. And but they also told us they were going to build the roads that they were going to haul on, but that's between them and the province, I guess, in a sense. But I would like to remind, meet with management and see where we can go, see whether we can get some benefits from those companies. We don't want to discourage those type of businesses, but I think the opportunity is there for the asking.
I really appreciate that this is something that stayed with you, right? Because I went there, I learned a couple of things, and then I moved on because I didn't see it, right? Like
Okay.
I don't see that in my everyday life. It's not saying it's not important. It's saying
Hmm.
that, oh wow, like we have somebody here who this is really important to and who's actually really well informed. So I find it so important that you do speak up on those things and remind, the people like me who are just off doing something else that this thing's happening in our community and it might not affect me personally right now, but it could later. So this sounds like a to be continued or like stay tuned for an update on this.
Well, as a regular citizen, it's not something that you can look into, but at council level, then definitely when being in Ward One, then that's something I'll be following up on for sure.
Very cool. So are you ready to move into a quick little lightning round with nothing to do with politics?
Sure.
I have a theory. I know your answer to this one. I'm going to ask you anyways. What is your favorite place in the community of Three Rivers?
Golf course.
Knew it. Like, do I even bother asking this? I know this man has talked about the golf course. That's, I mean,
Yep.
expected, but also awesome. The golf course is a great spot. I promise you, I will visit this summer. I will try swinging a golf. I don't even know which way I swing, but I'll figure it out, I guess.
Well, which way you hold a hockey stick? It's not
Yeah, but that's the I
some
don't
go
know
right off
either.
back and forth. Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
hold a hockey stick and both ways feel okay to me. And it's like I haven't really played, so
Oh,
I don't know, but like nothing feels wrong. So maybe I'm like one of those weird like switch hitters, I think they call them in
okay.
baseball, but
Good.
I'll figure it
Good.
out.
Pull a plug in here. We do have a ladies' night, and it's for non-golfers on Wednesday nights. They'll hook you up, and prices are very reasonable. And if nothing else, the beverages are cold, and you can have a good time.
Maybe I'll do that girls' night. I'll grab a bunch of my friends who have never golfed before and make sure we have a lot of
Yeah.
time. So now maybe you can tell me what you feel is like the best hidden gem in the community, something that maybe like outsiders wouldn't even think to check out.
Well, and it's to me the hidden gem is not hidden as far as that goes. It's Stu's Barbershop. Like, how many little villages do you have? Like Salisbury don't have a barbershop. Like, just have a one chair, two chair barbershop with a couple of storytellers. to cut your hair. So, it's something that has been a staple in our community. We celebrated Stu's 90th birthday on the weekend. I think today or tomorrow, yesterday was his birthday, but I remember having the conversation with Stu. Well, he says, Barry, I'm going to retire. And I said, Stu, finally. I said, you're going to retire. And I said, well, is Gary going to take over the shop? Yeah, but I'm going to work 1 day a week. He said, Gary doesn't want to work all five. So I said, Stu, that's not retiring. But anyway, to me, that's, one little hidden gem, and there's a lot of problems and gossip been solved through that little shop. And don't talk about hockey when you want to get a haircut. So,
These answers are just so great. Like every single time I ask this question, it's like the answer is different, and there's always like a real story
yeah.
behind like why this is a favorite place or why this is a hidden gem. And I remember taking my boys before my mom moved in, 'cause mom's a hairdresser, but I remember taking
Okay.
my boys to Stu's, and it was just the cutest little spot. And Stu is so lovely, and the Wildcats did him a solid by winning Game 7 just for
Yeah, I
him for
heard
his
that.
birthday.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. Shout out to Stu, who's been mentioned on several of these episodes. A
Yes.
very, very well liked man in the community. So we're gonna talk about hockey though, because I want to know who you're rooting for in the Stanley Cup Finals.
Well, I was hoping you'd forget about this question.
You need to admit it publicly, right? This
Yeah.
could cost you some votes.
Well, like Stu, I can tie it with Stu, but like Stu, I'm a Boston Bruin fan. And Boston Bruins are not or were in the playoffs, but are out right now. But being a Boston Bruin fan, our worst enemy is Montreal.
The one
You
Canadian
you
team
can
left.
tell right now I'm not a politician because I'm going to tell you I'm not cheering for Montreal, even though it is the last Canadian team. I am going to cheer for Buffalo. They're playing Montreal now, but they are the only American hockey team that plays both national anthems, whether there's a Canadian team there or not.
I didn't know that.
So that's my only argument not going for the Montreal Canadiens, because people that know me, if I said that I was cheering for Montreal Canadiens, they would call me a politician because I'd be lying. So,
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. And you know what's funny though, if you look at all of the teams, it's like what percentage of them are Canadian players? Right? Like
oh
we're
yeah,
cheering Canadian teams, but it's like you say Boston, I'm like, how many? And I don't follow hockey that closely, but I'm like, how many Boston players are actually Canadian? Like it's
Canadian.
probably a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's
Especially
great.
when you talk Bobby Orr or Patrick Bergeron. Or,
So this has been an excellent conversation. I've appreciated so much getting to know you better. I'm hoping that this episode helps other people get to know you better. Are there any last things that you'd like to add before we call it a night?
the only thing is people out there, please go out and vote if you can. I would appreciate your vote, but even if it's, we need to, if we look at what's going on in the world, we don't really maybe realize what a privilege it is to have the opportunity to vote for people that are making decisions for us. So we should exercise that right, even if we, you know, spoil a ballot. I don't care, but there is so many people out in the world right now that would die to be living in Canada or Three Rivers and have what we have. So do your civic duty and please go vote. But I would appreciate your vote. And certainly, if I do get your vote and get in, I will work hard for your needs.
You heard the man. Everybody get out and vote on May 11th. Thank you so much for this time. I will get this video up as soon as I can. It takes some time, the downloading, the processing, whatever. We should have it up ASAP so people can give it a listen.
And thank you for your time doing this with everyone. Make sure you take time for yourself. I'll put it back to you.
I'm gonna go read a book after this, I think.
Okay.
Or maybe
That is the
my
last
mom's
thing
got
in
my
my life
youngest
I
kid right
want
now.
to do.
Oh, really? No, I love reading. Summer's great for reading. But anyways, you have yourself a good night. We will chat again soon.
Okay, thank you. Bye, Terry.